We'd like to start out by thanking our valuable sponsors. Sense of Satisfaction by Cricket is the place for all your fragrance needs. Plus, she's got products to heal what ails your skin and your hair. Shop at sensbycricket.com. Special thanks to our valued sponsor, John Travis, a financial coach and certified Kingdom advisor with Richard Young Associates, a registered investment advisor. Thanks goes to Anna Patterson, my sister in the Lord who faithfully gives to this ministry every month. And to our newest sponsor, LaToya Gerard of Preach the Word Worldwide Network. She is a valued sponsor and a major encourager regarding this ministry. We need and would love to have you as a sponsor. Absolutely no gift is too small. Please note the info regarding giving throughout and at the end of the show, and help us spread these testimonies around the world. Please note that the views and opinions expressed on this show are not necessarily the viewpoints of our sponsors. It's time to hear the story, make the connection, learn the lesson, and gain the wisdom. Are you ready? Let's get charged and be changed. The SisterSpeak+BrotherBreak show. Conversations on grace, healing, and deliverance. This is Marcy Bush. Come on, let's journey together.
And it was just so many other things that happened. And through that, I'm dealing with this, and then I'm still trying to get over mama.
Right.
And I think there was some type of, well, I won't say some type, but there was a breakthrough one day during church. Serving, had gotten to the place where even in serving, I'm at church, but it's still a form of, like we talked about, I'm able to just come, serve, go home, And this particular Sunday, our pastor wasn't even talking to, he was talking to a specific person. I think their grandmother had passed, and she had something of her grandmother's. And he was telling her, okay, you can't keep doing this. You got to let her go. And he's just saying this over and over. And I think something that probably had been in there since my mom passed just came out. It came out, and I let it out. I just cried. And it was just my way of just, okay, I gotta let you go.
Right.
I can't hold on anymore. And I think that's what a lot of people do, is like, not that we can't think of moments and those things, but when you're always, well, I won't have my mom to do this, and I won't have her to do that, and she's gonna miss out on all these things, and you're constantly, that's a form of just holding them.
Right. There's something, when people continue to think about what they're not gonna be here for, not gonna be here, then it's a form of not letting them go.
Right. And I think you just continue to just, even in small things, a lot of people. And not to say you can't remember people.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's funny because after my mom told us she had cancer, and I had told her, I was like, Mom, I got a tattoo. The one thing she said was, nah, if something ever happened to me, you better not get no tattoo of me. Well, I wouldn't be me if I didn't go do exactly what she said not to do.
Lord.
So, but even with that, sometimes depending on the spirit you're doing it in, that can be a form of like holding people tight and not letting them go and just be free. You know what I'm saying?
That's why she showed up in Tennessee that time.
Yes.
Yeah,
She's definitely showed up. I didn't even tell that part where my mom showed up to me when I got back to Tennessee. I couldn't sleep. I could not sleep at all. I was tossing and turning every night. And this particular night, my mom had this thing she did, and I don't know if a lot of people remember. She was a hugger, but she would grab you by your side and she'd pat you on your side like that. How you doing? She pat you. And this particular night, I turned on my side. I'm wide awake, and I just feel this presence come up behind me, and I literally feel somebody just go like this on my side. And I didn't move. I wasn't scared, and I just dozed off. And that was the first time I had ever, and I don't know if a lot of people believe in that kind of stuff, but it happened to me. And if you don't believe, there's been plenty of times that my mom has made herself known, and you know, whether it be through her great nieces and nephews who've never met her,
right,
saying that they saw her and described her. She done came in family meetings and cut lights off and all kind of stuff. So, but anyway,
showed up in pictures. Several times.
Been in
family pictures where she would have been right there in some, you know, some form or another.
Church services, she done showed up, and you know, so she's definitely made her presence known. And so I think that's what's helped me to understand, like, that no matter, like, and one other one, her baby grandson, he thought he saw her in the store, ran to her,
and has never seen her in the natural, except in pictures, or videos,
and thought he saw her, and literally took off running to her. And that alone said something to me, because my brother has told him so much about his grandmother and how she would have just loved him so much, that he's never met this woman, but he thinks she loves me so much that he took off running to her, and then asked the question to the lady who he thought it was, when did you get here? And smiling and just so excited to somebody you've never met.
Right.
So, and I applaud my brother and my sister-in-law for, you know, just keeping her legacy going on, to make them understand, like, your grandmother was somebody special. She was, boy, anyway, that's a whole other story. She would have loved them so much.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So, I'm trying to transition. There's so much that happened.
So you talked about how the church service, you know, helped you heal with your mom, you know, from grieving your mom. Then there was also a church service that kind of addressed the daddy issues.
Yeah. So, and it was spread out, so it wasn't like close. Actually, one of my cousins, whose mom passed years prior to mine, had went up to get help, you know, with her, and she was having some of the same emotions I was having. You know, like, you know, why didn't you, just being honest, you should have took my dad instead of my mom. And I know that's not something that a lot of people would say, but that's just how I felt. That's how she felt. And so there was just this moment I had to go through of understanding, because there was this anger, and I had to find out where this anger came from. And the anger was, I didn't identify as a pope.
Okay.
So Pope is my dad's last name. I always say, oh, I'm a Bush. I'm a Bush, you know. And it was almost as if I had pushed my Pope side, which, to be honest, I'm more of a Pope than I am a Bush. And in every aspect. So, and that came from that relationship, you know,
protecting yourself, guarding yourself.
And it had nothing to do with, let me make that clear, it had nothing to do with, like, my Pope side of the family.
Because you loved him.
Yeah, I loved him so much, but it had to do with just my dad. And having to deal with that, and understanding, like, and this was a couple of services I had to go through, of understanding, like, that I can love my dad but not need him to be my dad, because at this moment he's not fully capable of doing it. And that's okay. I had to understand that it's okay, and it is like, I think a lot of women who have father issues, we have those issues because we still need that from them, even as a grown woman. And that was something I was having to process, because even anytime I got around my father, I wasn't 26, I wasn't 27, I wasn't 30, I was 10. I was a 10-year-old girl who, and you've seen it, my dad, I'd be bubbly, laughing, and my dad would walk in and it almost be like I go in this little cocoon, because I didn't know how to act. I just wanted him to say the right thing to me, and I didn't want him to hurt me. And so I had to start trying to understand that, okay, I can love you, but I don't need you to be my daddy. You know, I can love you as my father. I can love you as the man who brought me here, who got me to this earth, who I had great years with, but I don't need that from you anymore. And I'll be okay. And so,
and it's more so having to convince yourself of that. Because he may have been completely oblivious.
Yes. I definitely
but having to convince yourself, like when he walks in, okay, I don't need it.
Definitely had to convince myself. So, all of that is going on, and then he gets really sick. He starts getting really sick. He's having diabetic seizures. At one point, he got admitted to ICU because I think his sugar had went out the roof, I believe.
It was like, I think it was 9 something.
Yeah, it was.
Which is coma level.
Yeah, he was supposed to be in a coma.
I want to say it was 9 something. It was up there.
Yeah. So it got really, 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 really bad. So it had got really bad, and then that's when he went to the ICU, all my siblings had to come home. Well, Jill was the only one that wasn't home, so she came home, and that's when we started dealing with Daddy again, and the issues of Daddy. Because at this time, nobody really talks to him on a regular basis, so we really don't know like what you're eating. Are you really taking care of yourself? We don't know if you stopped drinking. We don't know, are you still smoking? We don't know any of these things. And so the doctor's asking questions, things like that, and we don't really know the answers to them. And we're having to make decisions based on the things that he's saying. Thank God he could speak for himself, because if he couldn't, we wouldn't have known anything. And so we ended up having a conversation then about like, we need to figure this out. Like, we need to know what's going on with you. And at this time, my dad's pretty much homeless. He does not have a place to stay. So from there, that's when we kind of start being more hands-on with him. All of us were. Chad and Jill were more of a distance, because Chad was traveling a lot. Jill was living in Florida. Me and Kevin were more stable here, so we were taking him to his appointments. If he needs some money, we were giving him money, that kind of stuff. And so he would sleep in his car sometimes, but we would make sure you get a hotel room and stuff like that. And that was a tough time for me still, because I'm having to sit in a car with this man that I do love, and I just want to hug, and I just want you to say the right things and do the right things, but I can't let you in anymore. And then he passes. Suddenly. Yeah. So. Same date.
As your mom. How many years?
12 years apart. 12 years apart. So that throws us in a whole nother whirlwind of emotions, because it brings out so many things. For me, I think I dealt with it. I was numb. It definitely hurt me. But, and even to this day, because now I think it's been about a year A year. I know it's been a year, maybe a year and a couple of months.
Because that was November. So we're in March now. So about a year and a half almost.
So it's kind of weird because I think I've warned some of my daddy, my father, like in the beginning, my daddy. But the man that we put in the ground, I didn't really know. And so sometimes I found myself like talking to my roommate and saying things like, you know, my daddy died, right? And she's like, huh? And I'm like, I'm having to say it out loud because it doesn't seem real, because I think I mourned him a long time ago. And that's something I had to understand, because it wasn't affecting me like I thought it would have affected me. But because I had already mourned him years ago, the daddy that I had, or daddy that I loved so much, he had already passed away. So if people, and I'm saying this because I want people to know, if people go off of our emotions at the funeral, if they go off emotions after the funeral, we had already mourned our father. The man that we were around, the man that y'all knew, we didn't know him. And that's why it didn't affect us like it did Mama, but it did bring up emotions. Yes. And for, I'll say, because my brother shared, it brought up stuff that he never dealt with. You know, so that I hope that prayerfully that clears up some things for people, because I do want them to understand it. We loved our father. We were there for our dad. You were there for our father, because he looked at you like a little sister as well.
That was my big brother.
And so it wasn't that nobody was there for him. It was just like, because I don't even know if I've ever asked you, but even for you, like, he was a different man. He wasn't the same man that you met and grew up with. And so,
because when they were dating, you know, I would be the one going out there to open the door and sit down and carry on a conversation while she was still getting dressed. And I was probably 10, 11, you know. And so he had been my big brother all that time, and I saw these transitions and phases.
I can applaud specifically is my granddaddy. No matter what my daddy did, who he was.
Your mama's daddy.
Yes, my mom's father. Because my dad's father actually passed when he was super young, so I never even met him. But my mom's father, no matter what my daddy did, like, my granddaddy would always ask about him and would always want him to be over there. Always. And I stressed that to my dad. I was like, I don't know if you know, but Grandpa loves you. Like, he loves you a lot. And I don't know why. But he would be like, you talk to your daddy? And sometimes when I would give because it got to a place where my mom never tried to hide stuff. If my daddy was fussing and cussing in the house, and you was pulling up in the driveway, oh, she didn't tell nobody. Come on in, see what's going on in the house. She didn't try to hide it, and it was kind of funny and embarrassing at the same time. And so as we got older, you know, even for some of our cousins, they used to be like, why y'all talk to your daddy like that? If you only, you know, we stopped trying to hide stuff. It was, you know, it was just too much. And so as we got older, my granddaddy would be like, when the last time you talked to your daddy? Grandpa, I don't know. You know, you need to call him. You need to do this. You know, he always made sure like that we had that relationship with our father, and that he kept that door open for him to come anytime he wanted to,
and did.
And for my grandmother too. My grandma, that's two people you won't ever know,
because the last time everybody was together, he was there.
It was actually 2 days prior to my daddy passing. And the great,
not even 48 hours, I don't think.
The great thing
about
it was
just at it.
And one of the good things about that day was my daddy, he had been having car issues. He did get a car, and he had been having car issues. And I I would tell him, just try. You're not trying. Just try to drive it. And this particular day, he drove his car to my grandparents' house, and I pulled up after him, and he walked outside. And he come up.
I didn't even realize he drove over there. I thought he rode one of y'all.
He came up to me and he was like, "Hey, Melvina," and I said, I was like, "Hey, Dad." He was like, "You see, I drove my car today," and he was so happy. He was like, "I drove my car today," and I was like, "Really?" It was like he wanted to do something to make me proud. And I said, "For real?" He was like, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, that's good. That because now that's a load off my back. You can drive to your appointments. You can start doing stuff for yourself, because that was one of the crutches that he was leaning on.
Right.
And so I think that was the last thing I said. I talked because he left. I didn't even know he had left. Because we had went to take our yearly picture that we take as children. And I guess he left prior to that.
Okay.
And that was the last time I saw my dad.
Okay.
He was just so excited to tell me that he had tried.
Right.
That was the last.
That's how it translated, because it wasn't about the car, so to speak.
At all. It was the fact that he tried.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Changed my life. I felt like I didn't have a life. As a young girl, living on your own, going out with your friends.
Right.
You just got to hold on to God. You feel like all your life is gone.
Okay. Did your family, did they know and understand what was going on?
I had the best family.
Oh, that's good.
The best family.
Good.
If I didn't have my family, I would have really gave up, because when I was still having my chemo, my mom got sick and she passed away.
Really? Okay. Okay.
So she was there with me at the beginning.
Yeah.
But
So how old were you when your mom passed?
28.
Oh, within the same year that
I got sick in August. She passed in March of the next year.
Oh, wow. Man. Oof. I cannot imagine.
Yeah,
But,
not really.
I had siblings that I needed to think about, and I knew that I needed to be there for them, because who else was going to do it? And I'm not the oldest, I'm the second oldest, but still, I was like, I got to be there for my siblings. So whatever feelings I had, pushed them to the side, and they were my focus.
Right.
And they were my focus for years, even after like the following year, 2010, I got married. And it was something that affected my marriage earlier on. It wasn't, where it was terrible, but I put my siblings before my wife.
Right.
Because it was like a us against the world thing.
Right. Because you went from being brother to being mama and daddy.
Yeah, because my dad was still there, but
or anything he wanted to find fault with, instead of any part of it being his fault or both of our fault, it was 100% my fault. And it was 100% my responsibility to take care of the children. So if anything happened to the children, even if it was an accident, it was my fault. So it almost mentally handicaps you, is the best way I think I can say it. Because I think it almost mentally handicaps you or disables you, because your mind starts to think, it's almost like when you bang your head against the wall and it starts to hurt. It's kind of the same thing, because, somebody keeps saying to you, you're not good enough. You almost start to think that way. And I just kept praying to God. And I was like, well, what about marriage counseling? Let's do marriage counseling. And he wasn't interested in marriage counseling. And it just, everything had to reside within the house, because we lived in a glass house. And I was constantly reminded We lived in a glass house, and nobody could truly know what was going on inside, and nobody could see what was actually happening. So when we were on the outside, everything had to look perfect.
I felt so broken. I had never experienced that much pain before. And I remember one day I was riding down the road and I just burst out in tears, and I'm just crying. Like, God, why? Why do you create hearts like mine where we love so hard and then we get broken? How does that, if you love us the way you say you love us, why do you allow us to experience such grief and pain? Because it was almost like someone had died. I literally felt like my heart was just ripped into not two pieces, but multiple pieces. And it was laying there with no life in it. That's the only way I know to describe it. Mm-hmm. And during that time, I was not a good person. I was not a nice person. I was just completely broken. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm going to move again. I'm like, okay, well, I hate the world at this point. Mm-hmm. I don't want to talk to my mama because
my brother solves a problem. I go out and play, but it's bothering me. Mm-hmm. I end up in school the next day, and who gets called up to the front of the class but me? Okay. Now, all these days have gone by, weeks, mm-hmm. never called. But this day, okay. I got the problem right. She wants me to go to the board. Mm. And I'm like, what? Mm-hmm. I mean, I was traumatized. Mm-hmm. And so, just as it was time for me to go to the board, she said, well, we're not going to have time, Fannis. Sit down.
Mm-hmm. And that's when you knew God does answer prayer.
Girl, I'm telling you, this was 4th grade, and I thought I was going to really be shamed. Mm. And I was about to walk out the door, and Miss Pilot says, Fannis, you stay here. Mm. And I stay back. I stay back for a moment, and she sits down. She says, sit down. I sit down. And she says to me, she said, Fannis, let me tell you something. What I'm about to say to you isn't just true.
Thanks so much for joining us today. If you've been blessed by today's show, feel free to let us know. And if you'd like to sow into this ministry, become a sponsor, or contact us, you can reach us at 803-221-0169. Or you can email us at the ssbbshow@gmail.com. Let's continue this journey together. We need and would love to have you as a sponsor. Absolutely no gift is too small. Please note the info regarding giving and help us spread these testimonies around the world.